This is Asia's Farm to Fork 5 Good Questions podcast, bringing you insights and views from across Asia's food value chain. Now, for today's interview. Hey everybody, I'm Duke Hip, host of Asia's Farm to Fork 5 Good Questions podcast. We've got another great guest with us today. We have with us Ms. Malu Nachreiner, Regional Head of Crop Science Asia with Bayer. Hi Malu, how are you?
Hi, very nice being here with you, and hello to everyone. My pleasure.
Excellent. Thanks, Malu. So if it's okay, we'll jump right into to the first of the 5 questions. And we won't no softballs. We'll give you some tough questions today.
Okay,
So the first
let's start.
absolutely. So the first one I wanted to get into was just last month, we had World Water Day, which was a big event, of course, a big moment where we get to think about sort of the importance, obviously, the huge natural resource, water, and how it's used. And when it comes to agriculture, it's front and center. And it's I believe that something like 70% of the world's freshwater resources are really are go towards the use of agriculture. It's very water intensive activity, obviously, growing the food which we all depend. So I wanted to ask you, sort of out of the gate here, with the increasing role of for ag tech to play in this equation. One, is there a role for ag tech to play helping reduce greenhouse gas emissions from agriculture? One, and then secondly, in making food production less water intensive. We know, of course, as I said, it's using so much of our fresh water supplies. Anything you can share a bit about the general field, and then what Bayer is doing specifically in that area?
Thank you so much, and it's a great question. Allow me to start sharing Bayer's vision for the future of farming, because that's important and it's pretty connected to what you are bringing to the table here. So our vision is how we can produce more, restore nature, and scale regenerative agriculture. And this is very consistent with the example provided regarding the water usage. What we are doing, and we are collaborating with farmers, with stakeholders within the entire value chain to create a future where agricultural practices can do both, can increase productivity or yield and enhance the environmental restoration. One tangible opportunity on this direction that I would like to explore and share is the rice farming. We are in Asia, so talking about rice makes a lot of sense, not only for our region, but globally. And rice is one of the most water intensive crops globally, not only for us in the region, but Asia being the main producer. Yes, the current practices have an impact in the environment. And the majority of the rice farmers, the way we produce rice nowadays, is towards the transplanting method. What does it mean? We have the rice seeds, they grow into nurseries before being transplanted into the field where you have flooded pad field. Some data to illustrate what we are talking about water usage. Producing 1 kilo of rice requires around 4,000 to 5,000 liters of water. This is the consumption for producing 1 kilo of rice. And rice production contributes to around 12% of global methane emissions. That is a GHG important element for us globally. We have in the company one program called Bayer Direct Acres. It's a program designed to help farmers to transition from what we are calling transplanted pod of rice or transplanted rice to DSR or direct seeding rice. And DSR is a system. It involves different offers that we bring to farmers. And again, it's not only Bayer alone, it's a lot of stakeholders engaged to make it happen. But we are talking about inputs, we are talking about seeds, we are talking about weed management, and yes, digital tools that can help farmers to do the best use of these recommendations. So this is not an easy transition. This is a transition that will take years, but the digital tools, and we have on the Direct Acres program, one digital tool that help farmers to manage this transition. So what is the best use of the inputs, either crop protection, either seeds, to do this transformation on their field? What is the role that mechanization can bring to become even more efficient the entire system? And some data with the potential for DSR when it becomes a reality at large scale. We are talking about cut water by up to 40%. So these 4 to 5,000 liters we can cut by 40%, and this is meaningful. And we can reduce also the emissions or the gas emissions, the GHG emission that we mentioned before, by roughly 45%. So those are impacts that we see it can happen. And when it goes to scale, it can create a very good opportunity for combining producing more at the time that we are restoring more from an ecosystem perspective, from a sustainability perspective. This is the beginning of this journey. It's a long one. Bayer will not do this alone, far from this reality. We are just part of this solution, part of this transformation, working with different stakeholders, but definitely is a way to go, and it's a future path for the rice production in our region.
Thank you for that. Very thoughtful answer. And I'm glad you highlighted rice. It's such a central component of everything we talk about food systems in Asia. So, actually, the next question I wanted to maybe consider that as rice also plays a huge role in food security. Touch on something the United Nations releases every year. They put out a report called the State of Food Security and Nutrition, or the SOFI report every year. And unfortunately, in recent years, Asia and Africa sort of went into in all the wrong categories, right? And here in Asia, we're still home to both the largest number of those facing hunger. I think it's just over 384 million, as well as the most people experiencing moderate to severe food insecurity. So again, all the wrong metrics, unfortunately, for Asia. How do food and agricultural stakeholders in Asia work together more collaboratively to turn this around and really, make a difference and impact and bring making the story a different one, a better one for Asia?
Yeah, and food security is a critical topic. We have been talking about it for decades, and we are going to be talking about it in the future as well, because this is extremely important for us. Global food production is challenged by many elements that are not controllable when we talk about changing climate, geopolitical tensions, economic volatility, fragile food systems. Everything plays a role when it comes to food security. One important element is farmers. They play an essential role in food security. You cannot achieve food security without having a strong farming system, and farmers are the central role on this entire conversation. In Asia, and again, coming back to us here, we are talking about more than 350 million smallholders. And those 350 million, they serve as the backbone for local communities. They produce more than 50% of the food consumed in low and middle income countries. This is huge, and this is not easy to manage. At Bayer, we have our mission as company, and this goes even beyond our crop science division that we talk health for all, hunger for none. So pretty much aligned with the food security topic and the role we can try to support and to help on this journey as humankind, not only as company. And we believe that food security needs to be addressed through three key pillars, or three pillars that can help us in this journey. One is innovation, the second one is collaboration, and the third one is scale. On innovation, the only way we can have a more efficient farming system is bringing technology, either, again, from an input perspective, through digital tools or digital enablement that can help us to get there, engaging the entire value chain, thinking in how we are going to be dealing food security, food production in a more climate resilient farming. So that's important because this is happening, this is true, and we are going to need to find a way to do it. And without innovation, the challenge will be even more, it will be even bigger. We need science to support us there, and we need, again, many stakeholders working towards the same direction. And that connects with the second element, there is collaboration. To enable access to food, we need to pursue localized approaches. We need to have partnering, we need to have local stakeholders, food value chain, public and private sector, NGO, everybody working together from a local perspective, not only at global discussions or global forums, but how can we make it happen in the local communities that we are serving in our region, in other regions as well. And third is scale. It's imperative that farming, that innovation, that partnership enables us to do everything that we are trying to achieve at scale. We cannot have only small good examples where innovation are driving a more sustainable farming. We need to do this at scale. Again, I mentioned at the end the 300 at the beginning 350 million smallholders farmers in Asia, and this goes beyond when we go to Africa, Central America. So this needs to be done at scale, and we need to again rely on innovation and collaboration to have it done.
That's a great answer. Thank you for that. Something you mentioned earlier as well. You touched on, of course, the work Bayer's leading with rice production and driving down GHG emissions and less water use. That to me falls in that broader category of sustainability. And I wanted to touch on that topic with our next question. Of course, sustainability in food production, food systems generally is less of a buzzword now and more of a growing societal expectation about, where does your food come from? How is it produced? And all that goes with that, and as it should be. So here in Asia, I know Bayer and other Crop Life members have initiated something called the Sustainable Pesticide Management Framework (SPMF) and programs in Thailand and Vietnam to carry that forward with plans for a third country launching, I think, later this year. From your perspective, again, where you're at on behalf of Bayer, how do you see SPMF contributing in the space for us here in this region?
SPMF plays a critical role in driving sustainability within the agriculture sector. And that's the reason it's so important that we drive this towards association like Crop Life and not only one single company here and there. This needs to be an industry effort. A few elements to highlight. One is enhanced resource efficiency. So SPMF promotes the responsible use of pesticides. We know that this topic can be misunderstood or misinterpreted by the society. So we need to talk about how we can use in a responsible way. And this includes minimizing pesticide use by applying only what is needed, utilizing efficient application techniques, ensuring proper storage, proper disposal, again, connecting the dots of how we can do a best-in-class farming as responsible as possible, keeping the environment and the society as a top priority. For doing that, we need to have farmer education and empowerment. We need to help them to understand what is this responsible use means. So SPMF has an entire focus on provides training, resources for farmers, equipping them with knowledge on how can they do this in a sustainable way, connecting the dots between sustainable practices, integrated pest management, integrated weed management, looking this as holistic as possible, but make it tangible and real in a language that farmers can understand and can use on their daily activities when farming. And third, biodiversity protection. The framework encourages practices that protect beneficial insects, ecosystems, contributing to overall biodiversity and ecological balance. So again, I will use the word that I've been using here talking to you, Doug, that is collaboration. This is a key word for the program. It's not one single company, it's an entire industry working towards this direction. We need to, yes, be partner with stakeholders, including government, industry, NGOs, everybody driving collective actions towards the sustainable food system. And Crop Life is leading us on this. Bayer, of course, as a member company, supports and is behind with Crop Life on the entire SPMF program. And I have no doubt this will bring a lot of benefits for our farmers in the region, but also to strengthen the connection and the understanding between farmers or farming and the society that sometimes needs to have more transparency and yes, more information to understand how we are managing our challenge in the crop systems.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, you know, that answer and other answers as well. Two words I hear a lot in your responses of collaboration, as you mentioned, farmers, and then maybe with the next question, I'd like to kind of weave those together a little bit. You know, a lot of new, interesting, really amazing new technologies and innovations that are coming to light from Bayer and other members as well, other companies around the world that are helping drive greater sustainability. But if the regulatory frameworks are in place to really support the access for those technologies to farmers, you know, we failed, right? They never quite reached the intent of reaching the farmer. So that's with that in mind, you know, thinking collaboratively are the things that the private and public sector should be doing, could be doing better to help ensure those frameworks are in place, that the regulations are in place to help farmers access some of these new tools and technologies to achieve all they can achieve.
The regulatory environment in Asia is as diverse as its people or geographies, right? So we have places with complex and mature regulatory system, and we have places or countries that we are evolving on regulatory standards, and that's part of the diverse we can find in a region like ours. Another element to consider is the current geopolitics. It plays an important role when we talk about trading partners of Asia, how we can do this in a way that we consider global trade, global standards, and it becomes even more important for us to work together with the public sector to ensure that farmers and consumers will be protected against unfair trade system, but also relying on all the analysis and studies that are behind so many regulatory framework and work that is done in every single geography, in every single country. So at Bayer, we believe that regulations and risk assessment must be science-based and must be as transparent as possible. Decisions, they need to be backed by sound scientific studies and available data. And again, we have places with more mature systems, places that we are helping to make it more mature, and this needs to make sense for us or for our partners and farmers in the region to be able to trade their products globally. So this is not only within a country, but this is also in the global scheme of things, how the regulatory system will help us to have this risk assessment based on science, more transparent and clear to everyone that wants to understand what we are talking about when we bring a new technology or new product to the market. There should always be open channel for both public and private sectors. These should go hand in hand, again, connected to the transparency and what we believe we should do and we should share information. And CropLife mentioning here, taking this opportunity through its technical experts, have been active to exchange with countries in the region on these risk assessment standards, what we can do to enable sustainable innovation, and what we can learn from places where we already have a more mature system to help the ones that are still under development. Again, it's key for us. Without a functional regulatory system, we are basically out of the game, and we need to do this in a very transparent way, but backed by strong science and strong regulatory and risk assessment.
Thank you for that. Makes a lot of sense. That's such a fundamental element of the whole equation. I'm glad you helped shed some light on that. Thank you for that. The last question, and by the way, we've touched on a lot of very difficult topics, right? Food security, sustainability, um, yeah, the regulatory landscape, and all of that. The last question for this season is a bit of um, um, a different type of question. It may be the toughest, it may be the easiest, I'm not sure. But we're asking the folks this year on the show if you have a favorite food. There's so many different types of food around Asia. If there's a favorite dish, a cuisine, that comes to mind as your favorite, maybe a personal favorite? Yeah, so that's basically the question.
This is a tricky one. This is the one that can put me on the spot here. But honestly, it's hard to select only one that stands out. I've been in the region for 1 year now, so I'm still learning a lot. I'm traveling a lot, and the cuisine here is super rich. And it's a topic that's very interesting. It's deeply rooted in every single community. It's more than just food. It's an opportunity to get people together, to commute, to exchange. And I am experimenting as much as possible every time that I go to the field and I can interact with our teams and partners. From Japan to India, it's a full range of flavors and definitely an experience for everyone who gets the opportunity to be in Asia and to get to know its culture. Uh, Again, hard to call out one. I would say maybe the two ones that I eat the most, basically because I am also based in Singapore and this is very strong here, is the Indian cuisine and the Chinese cuisine. But I also love the Japanese cuisine. I come from a country where the Japanese community is very strong. The Southeast Asia, I'm learning. So hard to say, hard to call out one, but it's definitely part of the culture. And I encourage everyone that comes to this region to experiment as much as possible on such a rich cuisine for every single country that we have here.
Yeah, there's no wrong answer. I think those are great answers, and maybe we'll come back and do this a year and see if you've got any update on any new foods you've tried in the region. Well, that's the end of the questions. Thank you again for doing this. You're officially off the hot seat, and thank you again, Malu, for making time to talk with us today. Thanks for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed today's podcast, and if you did, please rate, review, and subscribe. We look forward to bringing you another 5 Good Questions interview